Welcome back. I thought I would do an episode here just to catch everybody up on the league's happenings with standings, stats, all the award races, all the fun stuff, team stats. So looking at this board here, a lot of the stuff's set in stone here with 13 games remaining, except for a few things. We have a couple big races. The number one race for Impact would be the AL East race. Whoever wins this race between these three teams, 92, 92, and 91 wins, gets the wild card bye, the number two seed potentially, because they're 2 games up right now on the LA Angels. So the 1 and 2 seeds, which would probably be Kansas City and whoever wins this most likely. Obviously, if LA goes in a big run, they could get it. But so that's big because you either play in the wild card game as one of these two seeds, or you win the division crown and you win that round and you get home field for the next round, and a lot of big things, extra rest. So huge, huge, huge stakes there. All three teams I can show you the schedule. So the schedule here, I have the end of the season here. So we're 9-18 right now. They're all beside each other in this list: New York, Tampa Bay, and Toronto. So you can see these schedules are finishing up here. With New York probably has the easiest schedule. They have Miami, Milwaukee, and Seattle, all teams near the bottom of the standings in their respective divisions. The Tampa Bay is the hardest one. They play a pretty good Oakland team. Boston has a big winning record. They're just 1 seed out of the playoffs right now. Cincinnati's leading the division, New York. So that's a really tough finish to the season for Tampa Bay, the hardest of the three. Toronto's kind of in the middle. They got Baltimore, who has a pretty good team, but not at the top of the loaded AL East standings. Pittsburgh, a little better than they were last year, but not too great. And then they have a couple games against a really good Houston team and a couple games against a good Boston team. So pretty much Toronto has, I mean, Pittsburgh's not the hardest, but yeah, I'd say they still, Tampa Bay probably has the hardest schedule, and then Toronto's in the middle, and then I'd say New York. But it's pretty close, not that far differential wise, but it'll be interesting to see how that finishes up. Next up, we have the big one, obviously, playoff seeding wise, is the third wild card spot in the NL. Dodgers are barely holding on now. They're having a really bad couple of weeks here. So they're 79 wins, and St. Louis has 75. So 4 games back with 13 remaining. Dodgers still would be a mathematical favorite by quite a bit, but the way it's trending here, it wouldn't shock me if Washington, St. Louis caught up at 75 wins. Statistically, you'd think odds are one of those teams has a pretty good run out of the two, and then so it really is just up to whether the Dodgers can play. Even just like 500 ball would probably secure it, because 4 games is a lot to come back from, and they're actually 5 back Washington because they played 2 more, so Washington probably only has 11 games left. So that makes it, that makes it tricky. So that's a good race here. The other big one is in the AL East. You got Philly and New York. Only 2 games separate them. Both teams came off losses there, but both teams playing pretty well still all season, and they've been neck and neck, so it'll be a really good race there. See how that finishes. And same thing, we got 2 game difference. This is just as big as the AL East one, just 2 teams instead of 3. The winner of this will get a bye and not have to play the wild card round, and then get home field advantage in the next round. And the whoever doesn't win the division has to play in the wild card with over like 100 wins most likely. So that will suck. Right now, that's a 2 game lead or 1.5 game lead. So it's pretty dang close. So keep an eye on that and see what happens there. Next up, I will jump to the stats here. So if we jump over to the run differential, which is always the big one for team stats, we have Kansas City at 199 run differential, almost 200 runs. That's a really good team. They got some really good pitchers on that team. If you look at here, the top 3 teams for defensive pitching get the green tag, and then the bottom 3 get the red. So you can see that Kansas City is top 3 in opponent run per game, runs against in the season, home runs against, home run percentage. They're one of the best strikeout percentages of all the teams, top 3, just behind those 2 teams, San Diego and New York. And then they lead the league in defensive WAR and pitching WAR. So pretty crazy run prevention team, but they also have pretty good offense. They have one of the best anti-strikeout rates, only striking out 19% of the time as a team, which is like, 3rd best here in the league. And then they walk almost 10% of the time too, which is above league average. So really balanced overall team. They got 2 of the best relievers in the league, a couple of really good starters. So it's a really good team. Next up, you have a bunch of teams in the same tier from 174 to 159 run differential. New York, Toronto, all those teams that are really good near the top of the standings there. I like looking at the home run differential here specifically, just home runs. So Colorado has hit 153 more home runs than they've allowed. They've hit 318, only allowed 165. So almost all their success comes from the long ball, which is really interesting. But then also they get guys on base for the long ball. They are right up there in walk percentage. A lot of the times those power hitter profiles also have good eyes. They're usually like A lot of the guys they tend to target have the high power eye and the low BABIP stuff, and they do have some good hitters too. Not saying they don't have any contact, but generally those two things go hand in hand, which makes sense. They're hitting 2.13 home runs per game, which is crazy because the bottom teams here at like 0.7, 0.9, 0.8. Huge difference. On base percentage wise, they lead the league by 20 points, 19 points. 361 on base is crazy. The league average on base percentage is actually a little higher than I think it'd be. 323. That seems pretty high. Normally it's like 315, 318. Runs created, so they create almost 7 runs a game, which is absurd. The last place team in the league only creates 3.3. The woba, all those stats. The stolen base numbers I always like looking at. 186 stolen bases by Seattle this season, pretty spectacular. They're getting caught 56 times though, so maybe you'd say Houston's a little more impressive here at 81% success rate, New York at 84%. The last place team has 48 steals, so when you look at the difference, it's pretty astronomical between 186 steals and 48. Big difference there in production, turning singles into doubles. Next up, we have the defensive stats. So best in the league of preventing runs, Kansas City. Tampa Bay is next. Next, New York. Next, San Diego. So you have almost all playoff teams until you get to Cleveland here, who's built the whole team around defense, but doesn't have much for offense. But yeah, you see, it makes sense why all those top teams are so good. They just don't let up a lot of runs. Really good pitching, really good defense. The Kansas City numbers really stand out quite a bit lower than everybody else. Only let up 102 home runs. Next place is 137. So they've let up 35 less home runs than the second best place team in baseball is let up. Surprisingly, that's Atlanta. I don't know why they're so good at not letting up home runs. Maybe it's the division doesn't have a lot of power hitters, a couple different factors. But they are not a good team this year, but they are really good at that for whatever reason. Next up, we have the strikeout percentage. So San Diego striking at 26% of batters. We will look at their team to see why. I'd imagine you see quite a bit of high stuff ratings. You got 80, 60, 65. So a lot of it's really because the starter stuff's so high. It's really rare for starters to have that high stuff. So it makes sense why they're striking out a lot of guys there. Also have a really good just overall atmosphere for good, solid defense, good catcher, everything like that. So really impressive there. New York's right behind them at 25%. New York has a lot of good pitchers. KC, Tampa Bay, all those teams have immaculate pitching. Next up, we'll just kind of glance at the walk percentage here. New York has the best control pitchers in the league, only walking 6.7% of batters. League average is 8.5. So you have the worst teams there walking it up 10% of guys, not quite double, but 40% less for the top teams there. Next up, we have zone range. Is that minus 110? Oh my God. So the best teams here is 52 zone range positive for Tampa Bay, 45 for New York. Pretty spectacular defenses there. 52 zone range is phenomenal. Stolen base attempts. I always like looking at that. Pretty even this year. Sometimes you get some huge discrepancies, but stolen base attempts against sometimes the good catchers. And also, this is a little skewed because a team like Kansas City, who has such good run prevention, they have way less base runners on. So there's a lot less guys on first base compared to the bottom teams there who let up a lot more base hits and walks and stuff that don't have as good pitching and defense. So that is a little hard to look at that stat just without more context. And next up, we have the defensive stats. I sort of screenshot this recently. Tampa Bay leading the league in defense. They are really good at everything. Their rank is this little green dots here. So they're best overall in biz routine. So they're the most consistent 1,911 attempts, and they've converted out of 1,991. So it's just ridiculous. 96% there. They are fourth overall in likely at 85%. League average is 80. They are second best in even. They convert 65.9%. The league average is 59. So they're way above league average in all these things. Fourth best in unlikely, which is crazy. 35%. League average is just under 30. And then remote, they convert. They're fifth place overall, a couple percentage points above the league average in that also. And then in errors, they've let 62 errors, which is sixth best in the league. The best places, San Diego's only let 52 errors. So pretty phenomenal right across the board. So this is just an average of all these categories. So they average out to the best defense in the league by pretty good mark overall. Really close to them, though, is the Mets. If you see the Mets rankings, they're second in this, seventh in this, seventh. There's a little bit behind a few of these categories, but actually ahead in unlikely and remote. Means they actually have quite a little bit more rangy defenders. Plus the stadium kind of helps. But then they fall behind a little bit on the errors. They have about 10 more errors, which ranks them only 15th, which brings the rating down. So if that errors was lower, I'd be curious to see. That would be really close between the Mets and the Tampa. That's just really the only difference right now. It's just the errors. But those two teams are kind of head and shoulders above everybody. San Diego gets a little bit of a boost because of their airs are so good. So that first place ranking brings them up a bit. Where they're actually kind of getting hurt is the range there. They are only 18th and 16th league average and kind of in the middle of the pack there in the unlikely and remote. And then Baltimore is actually the opposite. Baltimore has some crazy unlimited range outfielders and athletic dudes, but they're just getting hurt. When the little more consistent plays in the middle for whatever reason, they're kind of in the middle of the pack there. And the two most common ones in the routine and the likely, which are kind of the most valuable because the like attempts are so high in those. Like you get almost 2,000 attempts in that compared to like all these categories combined don't even add up to how many attempts you get for routine. So the consistency is the most important when it comes to that. And then you have some stats to the right here. You just see some league averages and stuff. But that's kind of what I'll talk about today. And then I'll just jump into this award stuff. Obviously, looking at the league leaders isn't the best voting for awards, but kind of gives you a pretty good idea. Right now, you have in the NL, you have Tommy Kulik here. He's having like an MVP type season. Might actually win it, which is crazy. He is real close to being a 40-40 man, which is one of my favorite statistical seasons you can have. The Barry Bonds and A-Rod type thing where you get 40 home runs, 40 stolen bases. Ridiculous numbers. Just a super talented dude. Omari might win the AL MVP. He has been phenomenal here. He had a bit of a down season last year for his talent, only hitting 243, and the home run numbers were a little bit down, but he bounced back in a big way this year, almost doubling his steals again, more home runs, hitting 20 points higher. Still not as ridiculous as he was 2 years ago, but one of the most talented players in the league there. So those are a couple of freaky dudes that kind of lead the league in WAR for the batter side of things. Mike Riley looks like he is going to win yet another Cy Young, which is absolutely insane. He is having a ridiculous season, about exactly as good as he was last year. Almost identical stats across the board, the exact same on base percentage, almost 3 seasons in a row. I just ranked him number 1 in the best players in the league currently. So it makes sense. He's just been just ridiculous. He's a 5'10" lefty that is just a wipeout pitcher that's just impossible to do well against. So that's pretty neat to see. Yeah, so we have some pretty cool stats there. League leader-wise, we can kind of glance at the rookies here next. Rookie-wise, we have a rookie in the NL that's on pace to hit 54 home runs, already crossed the 50 mark, which I can't imagine has been done by a rookie many times in the history of the league, if not ever. I'd have to look into that. That's just bonkers. And then you have a rookie here hitting 307 at 21 years old. That's pretty neat, too. Really good season out of the guy. I'm going to have a division crown there with the Reds here, too. That's just a silly stat, right? I'm just looking at this. 50 home runs, next best is 24 for all rookies. That's just ridiculous. This guy actually is having a really good season, too, on the Dodgers. I mean, the WAR stats aren't very good because he's just kind of playing like a DH role or whatever, so that's bringing down the numbers here. But still, 100 RBIs and 26 home runs for a rookie is not too shabby. You have a really good young catcher here. This is one of the young stars of the league here. 23 years old, just had his birthday a couple weeks ago, so pretty much played the season at 22 years old, hit 300 as a catcher, had a 4 WAR season as a lefty bat catcher with really good defense, really good contact. So that's a dude that's going to be awesome, really valuable for Miami there with the team control for so long there. Couple rookies here hitting 10 triples, including a first baseman here with 80 speed. So it's a kind of a neat rookie class. The pitching-wise, you have a guy who has a real shot. I think the AL Rookie of the Year, he's actually potentially the leader there with the high WAR. You have a pretty good rookie here in Detroit also, but Rutledge here, 3.59 ERA, really good strikeout numbers here. If you look at just the AL here, I think he had like 3.4 WAR or something. You don't really have any standout hitters, so he actually might win that Rookie of the Year, which is kind of neat as a pitcher. Is always tough. This guy started out real hot, and then he got injured for a while, and then kind of had a slow second half, or else he probably would have won it. And then you got a really good young outfielder here in Baltimore who I'd imagine he just hasn't quite got to his power potential yet. So he only hit 13 home runs, but the scout thinks he might have a little more power in his prime there. But he was playing corner outfield, so the WAR number isn't as good as if he was playing center field there. They have another good center fielder, so his WAR number is only 2.8, but overall impact, he hit almost 270 with a bunch of stolen bases, really good defense. So pretty neat player there too. So that'll be an interesting vote. But I think right now the favorite probably be Rutledge on the best, has the best record in baseball. going to be a playoff starter. Just a really ridiculous rookie season, almost 200 strikeout pace there. So, and he's a lefty. There's a lot of cool things about that profile. So that's a really neat player. And then obviously, I think in the NL we're going to have probably Littinger's pretty much guaranteed there. If he had 50 home runs as a rookie at second base, that's just, you've won that award a long time ago. So that's kind of the rookie of the year there. And then if you're looking at the just overall kind of glance at some of the league leaders here is always fun, just so we can always look back later or something, have this video on record. But 375 ISO there, just looking for some other standout stuff here. 6.87 WPA, which is one of my favorite stats, kind of like a clutch factor. The Colorado guy there, in the rookie, second place in that, which is phenomenal. I'm just noticing now that this guy leads the league. Yeah, this is amazing. What a season here. Another young star. So Miami having the catcher and this first baseman, both as young stars to build around, is so exciting. This guy is almost on pace for 40 home runs here. Look at this week he had, 4 hits, 2 hits, 2 hits. So amazing, amazing player. Really exciting to see Miami have a couple of young star players there to build around. This is a pretty neat season 2 out of this first baseman. He's a 5'10" dude, actually playing first base, not DH. And he's hitting 340. Came over in a trade from Cleveland there. Interesting trade a couple years ago, right before I got here. But yeah, so kind of fun going over all those stats. And we can't end the episode without talking about Peralta here. Been on an absolute tear here in the second half. He has 10 home runs in September, and it's only the 18th day of the month here, so he could finish like 15 home runs this month. He had 9 last month, and then he actually started a little hotter than I remember. So he did have 14, 9, 11, but then he went kind of cold in the middle there a little bit. And by cold, I mean, if you have 5 home runs in a month, you're still on pace for like 30 home runs. But he has just been absolutely ridiculous these last couple months here. So the walk percentage is 10.4. And the strikeout percentage has been quite a bit better these last few months here than the middle of the season, the start of the season there. So just an interesting player here. Played a lot of first base last year, and this year he's actually played third base most of the season. And the dude is on pace for 63 home runs. So I made a mistake not including him in my top 50 players in the league. I just underestimated that power. He just, I was just thinking, like he's good, but he was getting a little bit of Coors boost in his stats, and I had some reasons, but that was just, that was incorrect. Looking at this, he's just been unbelievable. So he should probably be higher in the top, closer to the top 10 than he should be out of the top 50. So that was a big blunder on my part. But I'll make sure to include him next year, that's for sure. So anyways, that's it for this episode. Hope you enjoyed all the stats and nerdy stuff.